out what girl he wanted. Andre would come to me, tell me what girl the recruit wanted, and I would tell the girl, and she would say her price. I would tell him. He would say, okay, give me the money. I pretty much would sometimes hand it to them. Sometimes he'd give it to him, and that was just it. He would take them into another room, and her and the recruit would do what they did behind closed doors.
Outside the Line spoke with Katina Powell, a self-described former escort who says in her book, Breaking Cardinal Rules, that she helped organize nearly 24 on-campus parties involving strippers, stacks of money, and sex with escorts. Those parties, Powell says, were mainly designed to lure high school-age basketball recruits to sign with Louisville. Allegations that have since sparked both a criminal and NCAA investigation. Stephen A., after these new revelations from Outside the Line, should Rick Pitino lose his job?
We need to hear more evidence. We need to hear more facts as it pertains to how directly involved he was. But I am willing to say this does not look very good for him. He appears to be in trouble. And considering what, albeit for an entirely different reason, how Larry Brown has been stained, a Hall of Fame coach, how he has been stained, I don't know how you get around this not stopping at the footsteps of Rick Pitino. Do I believe it's plausible and possible that he did not know? Yes, I do. You're the head coach of a program. That does not mean that you're aware of what boosters and others decide to do in terms of sliding money to folks to engage in salacious activity or whatever word that you want to use. When it comes to women on campuses, in terms of strippers and the like and what have you, anybody who wants to sit here with blindfolds on and act like this is not something that has happened on a lot of college campuses, good luck with that. I got some swamp land in New Jersey to sell you. That's just ridiculous. The stuff like this, I'm not saying to this degree where people are being paid or anything happens. I'm not saying to that degree. But when you are a college recruit and you are coming to campus, is it beyond the pale to arrive on campus and see a bunch of ladies there to sit there and tell you this is a very attractive university and this is someplace that you might want to come to? No, that is not beyond the pale. Certainly these actions might be, but that much is not. What I will say, however, is this. The buck stops with Rick Pitino. The buck stops with him. You're the head of the program, and even though you didn't know, if you didn't know, it's because you didn't want to know. It's because you basically said, I want nothing to do with this. Make sure it's not connected to me. I don't want to find out. Don't tell me anything. There's just no other way you can dissect this. Not to mention the fact that it's not just Rick Pitino who should be under fire. It's Tom Jurich, the athletic director, the second highest paid athletic director in the nation, behind your guy, David Williams at Vanderbilt, according to some story I read this past June. I think David Williams at Vanderbilt is paid over $3 million, and Tom Jurich is at $1.41 million annually, which is the second highest paid for an athletic director. But the reason I bring his name up is because, from my understanding, I think it's the athletic department that's in charge of policing the dorms. The dorms are allegedly where some of this activity took place. Yep. So how is it that it takes place there, but Rick Pitino gets to say, I don't know anything, and the athletic department doesn't even get questioned in the court of public opinion? Yep. I think that that's just surreal. I don't think that's reality. I think reality demands that Rick Pitino answer to some degree for this, because again, he's the head of the program, and I think the athletic department has to answer for this as well. This looks incredibly bad. There's no way around it, and I don't think there's any way that Rick Pitino can be absolved. I think the best that Rick Pitino can say is that I didn't know anything, but he clearly should have known everything. And the fact that he doesn't know anything, or he swears he doesn't know anything, is almost equally as incriminating, because it is your program.
Okay, so you finally arrived at that conclusion. He should have known.
Absolutely. I don't finally arrived. No question he should have.
I'm so with you on that.
That's right.
I've been covering college sports, looking into scandals dating all the way back to 1985's death penalty scandal at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. And what I came to realize back in the 80s is that if you are the CEO of a major program at a major institution, such as basketball is at Louisville, you are responsible for any and everything that would happen beneath you. And back to your point about, is it plausible that he knows nothing? As he said, what was Pitino's quote? Not myself, not one player, not one trainer, not one assistant, not one person knew anything about any of this. That's the quote from Rick Pitino. Is that plausibly true? It's plausibly true, but if I use the word, is it probable that he knew nothing about this? You would say, no, it's not. Right. You would say, yes, he knew something about it, to the point of your scenario about him saying, just don't tell me. Well, if you say, don't tell me, you know something is going on or about to go on. So, look, this was a graduate assistant coach who left the school in 2014 and is now an assistant coach at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, though Andre McGee is now on paid leave as they investigate further into what exactly happened and what his responsibility was in all that went on at Louisville. But my point to you is, if you are the head of the basketball program, you are the CEO, you have to know. Because it's hard for me to believe that McGee, even as a graduate student, flew completely solo here, that he acted completely independently of his head coach. And what was her quote, Katina Powell's quote? She says that McGee told her that I said, does Pitino know anything about this? And McGee said, he's Rick, he knows about everything. Well, I'm pretty sure he would know about everything that goes on in that program. Now we're back to the Belichick-Patriots issue. Is it possible Belichick knew nothing about inflation, deflation? It's hard for me to believe, because he's the CEO. He knows every minute detail, and it's the same with Rick Pitino here.
Well, let's take this a step further, since we're on this subject, and we're going to hit it. Let's hit it. If this were John Calipari, would he be able to get away with saying he knew nothing? I don't think that's the case. I don't think that anybody would look at John Calipari and be like, yeah, you knew nothing. Come on now. That's number one. Number two, Richard Pitino, the coach of Rick Pitino, goes on the record, and I think the son, who now coaches at Minnesota, and he came to the defense of his father, stating, quote, I can guarantee you my dad knew nothing. On one hand, let me say this. I want to applaud Richard Pitino for coming to the defense of his dad. Any son with a good father should do that. Sure. So I'm not faulting him. Yeah. But in his case, I would also advise, I don't know how wise it is for him to do that, because remember, he was an assistant at Louisville from 2007 to 2009, went away for a year, and then came back around the time this was happening as the associate head coach. So you were around too when this happened, and now that will make people start asking you questions about what the hell is going on in Minnesota. So you might want to pump his brakes with that. I'm just saying. In the end, what it comes down to is this. I respect the hell out of Rick Pitino and what he has accomplished.
As a basketball
coach.
Okay.
But big-time coaches at big-time programs don't get away with imitating Ronald Reagan, one of our great presidents from the 80s, when
plausible
deniability.
I agree.
Or Oliver Northwood, I don't recall, Lord knows how many times. I mean, he put Richard Sherman, I'm sorry, not Richard Sherman, put Marshawn Lynch to shame with, I'm just here so I don't get fined. I mean, Oliver North in the 80s, I don't recall. I don't know how many times he said I don't recall on Capitol Hill. I really don't know. So all I'm trying to say is that when you are the big-time coach of a big-time program, you don't get to sit there and say, I knew nothing, and get away with that. Because in the end, we're going to look at you and say, you should have known something. And in Larry Brown's case, let's remember, Larry Brown has categorically denied being aware of the situation involving him at SMU. But why he got penalized and suspended for those 9 games is because they also said you should have known.
Yep.
And that's a new mandate that's come down by the NCAA that didn't exist back decades ago. But now the onus is on the coaches and the heads of programs even more so than ever before. So maybe Rick Pitino didn't know. But if he didn't know, in all likelihood, It's because he didn't want to know.
Okay.
Either way,
all right,
he doesn't get to get away with it.
He doesn't get to get away.
Right.
And neither can we allow the excuse that you brought up early on, and I get where you're coming from. Is this going on at other programs? You're right. But you can't use the everybody's doing it excuse.
I totally agree.
You're caught.
No, I'm just saying the only reason I brought that up is because you're listening and you're watching TV and listening to radio, and everybody's incredulous as to, oh, this is going on. They're young men, teenagers coming to a college program. Now, you don't have to go this far, but you can roll on a college campus, and when you're greeted lots of times, there's a beautiful woman there waiting, to greet you, even if they're there with the coaches and they're just saying hello, totally harmless. But it's to give the allure and the impression, this program, this campus is someplace you might like to be.
All right.
I've covered. I'm not asking. I'm not guessing. I'm telling you what I know. I've been a journalist for 22 years. I covered college sports for a decade. I am telling you, it happened. It happened all the time, and that was back in the 90s when the money wasn't what it is now.
Okay, that's fine. I would give Pitino a little more of a break if this was said to have happened off campus, where it would be less controllable. But all of these parties took place
in the dorm.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay? And in the dorm, if you're going to parade all the ladies into the dorm, aren't a lot of people going to take notice?
And see,
wow, a big party's going on here. So how do you think?
Well, wait a minute. But then again, now we're talking about a multitude of people being complicit, because we're hearing about this because, this published, this escort queen or whatever, Katina Powell, published this self-described former escort. She's talking about this stuff, and they've got other witnesses that have come forward. But the fact is, this is years later. So clearly there's a whole bunch of people that were quiet about this because, like you said, how could they not see? And forget the coach. We talk about people at the dorm. We talk about people on campus.
The final issue here is always follow the money. And she is estimating that McGee, the graduate assistant, paid her upwards of $10,000, and that the players then tipped X thousand dollars to the girls. So my point is, that's a lot of money.
$10,000 per party.
Per party, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so where did the money come from? And are you saying that Rick Pitino would have no idea about where the money came from either? Would he not have to oversee that somehow? That's just...
Well, what I'm saying to you is that, again, when you're a big-time program, you've got boosters, you've got people that are quote-unquote friends of the program with deep pockets.
No, I get
where
that.
the money never gets traced to you.
Okay.
We all know this.
But would the head coach have no idea this was going on?
Well, like I said, it's possible that the coach had no idea that it was going on. But it's because he didn't want to know.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss.
So best guess at this moment, from what we know so far, maybe new details will
and we'll continue
emerge.
to track it.
Gut feeling, does he have to go?
My gut feeling is yes, because I don't think this investigation is going anywhere. Plus, one of his boys, Billy Donovan, is now a head coach for a championship contender in Oklahoma City. Not that I could see Rick Pitino going somewhere to be an assistant.
Maybe.
But he'll always have a home. He's the kind of coach that's going to be taken care of.
All right.
I'm with you.
We'll continue to monitor this story. And a Louisville Athletic Department spokesperson said neither athletic director Tom Jurich nor head coach Rick Pitino would have any comment because of the various investigations into the matter. ESPN.com reached out to Pitino again, who said he could not comment. It's important to note the OTL piece today offers no direct link that Pitino knew or approved what was going on. We'll have more First Take after the break. Stay here.